Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I am glad you're here. First thing I'd like to do is just thank all the channel members. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you guys being members of the channel. And I just appreciate any of you who stopped by to watch the content. I invite you and welcome you to please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, and I'll continue to push out some content for you guys. So today what I wanted to do is I've been going through my collection, kind of looking at my knives a little bit differently. And I wanted to focus on the made in the USA knives and the ones that are in my collection that are in my top 10, and how I was going to try to rationalize what top 10 USA made knives meant to me. And since my channel is all about how knives make me feel, I felt like the easiest way to do it would just to do it objectively in my mind, which will be totally subjectively for everybody else. Um, I love really all my made in America knives. I've got a lot of knives that aren't very represented in this list. For example, Benchmade, that's why I was showing my RSK. It didn't make my list. That's why I was showing the Adamas, because Benchmade, again, is right up there. I love those knives. It's really hard to say which are the top 10, but when you're looking at your collection, even with something that I'm really loving, like this new Mini A100 from Emerson, um, I had to look at it objectively through my eyes, through my collection. So what I'm going to do, starting with number 10, working back through to number 1 in my collection, I want to just give you a real quick overview of the 10 top made in America knives in my collection, starting with number 10, which is this Hinderer half track. The Hinderer half track is one of those little chodes that a lot of people think are super ugly. It is unique in Hinderer's line in that it uses that same thick Hinderer girth, more so I think than the 30 XM-18s. It's just a little chunk of a Wharncliffe knife. This particular one is. The half track has different blade configurations as well. This one in my collection does have, it's in the Stonewash, and it does have the Stonewash tie show side scale. It is in Magna Cut, and it is a great little knife. I love to carry this knife. Said Stevie gifted me a Lynch pocket clip for it because he'd gotten it for his favorite knife, which is his McNeese, which is also not in this group, only because I don't own a McNeese 3.5 yet. But he had gotten this for his McNeese and realized that he was going to have it ground. And since he's got a good relationship with Casey and Team Lynch, they just went ahead and made a clip for Stevie and for his McNeese, which allowed him to send me this, which I thought was super kind. It's a deep carry clip from Lynch titanium. So it's a full tie dressed Hinderer half track, Wharncliffe, that I really like. I guess if we're going to do this, we ought to have paper out to at least make sure all these cut. But let's so the Hinderer is very slicey, even though it's a thicker knife. The main challenge is the guy trying to cut it, looking through the iPhone. But the half track's a great little bruiser of a knife. It's really great for do it whether you're getting into boxes, whether you're doing utility cuts. It's great for utility cuts. That blade's unique in that it sets up a little bit, so it's a great chopper. It's just a great small primary carry knife that I love, and it comes in at number 10. That's the Hinderer half track. Moving on to number 9, we come to my favorite Spyderco, and a fantastic knife in its own right. Again, guys, it's so hard to rate these. Just because they're not on this list doesn't mean I don't love them very much. But this is the Spyderco Manix2. Mine is modded a little bit differently, where it's still got the great jimping in the choil. It's still got the great jimping here on the blade, but I've eliminated all the body jimping because I didn't feel like I needed it for my usage. And I picked up these uh, rock scale design graphite titanium. Graphite's the color. They're titanium scales. They allow you to do away with the liners, which were jimped, which were nice, but not for me. I didn't really need them. And this is the Knife Center, I think, exclusive. It was all black. The crew wear, so it's a crew wear Spyderco Manix2. Fantastic knife. It's got some upgrades like a titanium cage and the rock scale design scales, and then it's got an MXG clip. Made in Golden, Colorado, USA. Planet Earth. I love this knife. Spyderco Manix2. Number 8. So coming in at number 7, coming in hot, is the TRM Shadow. Believe it or not, the only TRM that made this list, which is my favorite USA manufacturer. I'm looking at these knives kind of as individual pieces, not the sum of the whole. So the TRM Shadow is an absolutely fantastic knife. I don't know if I just called this the Atom, but this is the Shadow, and it is my number one TRM knife. I've got really all the TRM knives and love them. I have a couple of Nerds. I have a Neutron, have an Atom, and then I have the Shadow. The Shadow has a tall, flat grind, slicey blade. We didn't cut with the Manix. I just thought about that. The Shadow's mega slicey, just so I give it fair treatment. Those of you that know Spyderco know it's super slicey. Even though the cutter's not very good, the cutter being me, not the tool. But the Shadow uses the River Lock, which is TRM's version of the, I guess you'd call it a bar lock. And it's in G10 handles, 20 CV blade steel, super thin, super slicey. Definitely one of my favorites. Coming in on Javon's top 10 USA list is the TRM Shadow at number 7. Which brings us to number 6. Number 6 is a fantastic knife, in my opinion. It is the second Hinderer on this list, and I have come to really love the beefiness, the craftsmanship, and the made in the USA-ness of Hinderer knives. I've become a big fan. This knife is 100% drop shutty. It's 100% perfect for me in that it's the battle bronze titanium S45 VN blade with the Spanto, and I do think that Hinderer does their S45 as good as anything or as anyone. It does have the titanium matching, battle bronze show scale, stonewash blade, just really smooth knife. I've got this one, even though it's a tri-way system, on bearings right now, and it is just a banger. So coming in at number 6 in Javon's top 10 USA knives is the Hinderer full-size XM-18 3.5. Coming in at number 5, we have one of the Medfords that made this list. This is my gentleman's carry Medford. This is my Medford Slim Midi. This one recently had a skiff bearing upgrade, and it's just a joy to carry. It's got fantastic ergos. This is the falling leaves pattern, which is designated by these little divots that are milled into the titanium. It's got a little bit of an anodizing as part of that, and then it's got, again, this milled out leaf pattern coming down to the handle. This is a 9, which is an S90V version, which is my favorite blade steel. So this is a slim Midi, very slim, very slicey. We didn't cut with the Hinderer. See, I keep forgetting to do my paper cuts, guys. Too many knives. The Medford slicey. Let's pull out the Hinderer. And everybody says that Hinderers don't cut. They are very slicey. Thanks to Jared Neves, he gave me the right angle to set up my TS Prof for this guy, and it is a slicey beast. So this, back to the Slim Midi. I love this knife. I love all my knives I have from Medford Knife and Tool. Again, I always separate people's and my personal feelings from the actual tool, and I judge this based on its made in Americanness. And this is what I would consider a great specimen. When I took this apart to do the skiff bearing swap, it was the smoothest disassembly, reassembly I've put together in my knife piddling career. I realized that this number that's on the blade that I always kind of wondered what it was must be serialized, because each one of these scales has that exact same number. It uses a T25, I believe, to get that pivot screw off, and then a couple of T8s to get the body screws, 3, and it literally just slides off. It's an actual absolute jewel of a knife. It carries like a champ. It comes in at number 5. I love it. It's the Medford Slim Midi. So moving on, we come to number 4. Number 4 is a unique entry, but it is still one of the knives that makes me feel the warmest and the fuzziest when I carry it. I love this knife. This is the Protech Mordax. This is the one I purchased at the Nashville Custom Knife Show from Dave at Protech when I was up there. It's ironic that both my Malibu and this Mordax were procured at the Nashville Custom Knife Show, but fantastic specimen. Magna cut blade, very thin and slicey. Let me grab a little paper. It's got a wonderful finger choil and just makes butter of paper. Just super, super slicey, even though I'm not a good cutter on camera. Hopefully you guys can tell that the knife is definitely up for the challenge. But yeah, coming in at number 4 is the Protech Mordax button lock, plunge lock, whatever you want to call it. It's a fantastic knife. I absolutely love it. And that will be our number 4 out of Javon's Made in the USA, which brings us to number 3 Made in the USA. And this is a 20 CV Hinderer Eklipse. It's been cut, looks like it's been hung up dirty. It hadn't been cleaned like it should. Shame on me. But it is the why did I not just reverse flick that? I'm doing something weird, guys. It must be my my stance under the camera. But this is the Hinderer flipperless Eklipse. Again, N20 CV, very slicey, very tactical, I guess I would say, as far as tactical knives go. This knife kind of has a tactical feel, tactical vibe going, but it's got some of the smoothest bearing action that I've ever felt, and it's got detent for days where it's almost too strong for me to reverse flick. I reverse flick it all the time, but for some reason at this angle, I'm having a hard time getting it to fire out. I've only got this small area between the camera. But this one is the Stonewash bronze that I've upgraded the hardware to the blue hardware, the battle blue hardware, and then the smooth titanium show side, all from Hinderer, all Hinderer hardware. And that's the Hinderer 3.5-inch Eklipse with the flipperless model. And this comes in as my number 3 Made in the USA knife. So as we move on and we close to the finish line, which I'm sure you guys are going to be happy to have us close the finish line, we come to the second Medford in this list. And this is the first Medford that came into my collection, and it's still my favorite Medford in my collection. It's the Medford Infraction. It is a little wicked, wicked hollow grind that fits my hand like an absolute dream. It's got banging action. It is regular flipper knife, so it's got a flipper tab if that's your deal. It's also got the fuller and the blade hole if that's your deal, which that's kind of my deal. And it is very much a bruiser knife, but it's very much a shaving sharp knife. Whoops, cut her hair. Save a little paper for our last knife. But number 2, and this one's kind of adorned with the stars and stripes pattern. So let me get that crap out of the way. Stars and stripes pattern is kind of made up of these faux panels. Looks like an old P-42 or whatever, the P-48, those old World War II planes with the tail flag and the little riveted panels. It's got the Medford seal there. I love it, guys. This one's in, if I'm not mistaken, S35. S35VN, I believe. And it is the Medford Infraction, medium-sized knife, fits my hand like a dream. It's thicker. It's got the full-size scales and blades, unlike the Slim Midi, but it still carries like a champ. Which brings us to the one and the only number 1 knife in my collection, Made in the USA, is the Michael Zieba Odin. And this is the Odin version of the S5. So it's actually a Michael Zieba S5, which is designated by this very tactical build that uses a partnership with Knight Designs, Jason Knight, or Knight Knives, who makes the blade for this really wicked recurve that's just, I mean, a shredder. Um, it's got this huge swedge here in the blade. It's got an amazing trigger to get grip on. It's got a very piercing, thick tip. It's designed to do work, even though it's jeweled out, or I guess you'd call it bougied out, with this Odin laser etching that I find fascinating, because when you look at it as just a piece of art, not just a knife, it comes alive on a whole nother level. I mean, the back spacer is basically a piece of jewelry pendant, because Michael Zieba is a jeweler too. If you flip it over, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me get a torch. Let's see if I can get that back spacer there on the camera. That's the inside of the back spacer. It's got that little that ruin, I guess you'd call it a rune, or rune in the back side. And then if you look at it on the human side, the side that we normally see, it's these skulls that are the same skull that comes with the doodad that's on the case that this came in. So if I was going to put a lanyard on this, which it's got a lanyard bar right now, which unfortunately I'm not, it comes with a huge doodad that matches this, a piece of basically a piece of Zieba jewelry that'll stay with the knife. But fantastic specimen. It is it's a knife that my brother Dark Gravity picked up at the Nashville Custom Knife Show 2 years ago, had in his collection, and felt like it wasn't getting any kind of love. And if he wasn't going to carry it, he wanted somebody to carry it. So he and I put a deal together, and I was lucky enough to be able to buy this from him. And I carry it. I love it. I don't go out and baton with it, but I definitely cut with it. I definitely use it, and I'm definitely just a huge fan. So, guys, that in a nutshell, no Alice in Chains pun intended, are my top 10 made in the USA knives, and no love lost on all of my other wonderful made in the USA knives, because I do have I've been, collecting for a little bit of a time now, and I've been blessed to come across some great knives and some great people. Most importantly, great people, but the great people have helped lead to the great knives. And the whole thing is, came for the knives, stayed for the people. So when we're talking about my top 10, I'm sure they're going to be different than your top 10, but put your top 10 in the comments. Let me know what's going on. I could even do this as an open tag video. Not that anybody needs an open tag from me to do a video, but tell me what your 10 are. I'd be interested to know. Most importantly, guys, thank you all so much for coming by the channel. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're over on Instagram and you'd like to connect, hook up with me at jevans_knifeaddict_life. I love each and every one of you. All I ask is that you please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.